A triangle is a perfect shape.
In my previous Gotham High video, I said, I don't blame Melissa De La Cruz in the slightest. And in my Birds of Prey video, I said, I only ever come across these articles when I'm looking for release dates or casting announcements. Well, this DC project seems determined to make a liar out of me because I try to stay away from as much news surrounding the comic book industry as I can. One, because a lot of it is clickbaity nonsense, it's not real news. And two, because I like to go into a new piece of media as fresh as I possibly can. In terms of opinion anyway, I can't resist leaks. But I came across this interview in Entertainment Weekly and caught a glimpse of Melissa De La Cruz saying, my husband is a big Batman fan, so when DC called and said, we want to do a YA line, what character do you want to do? I wanted to do Batman. It's such a fun, iconic character that I can put my own spin on. So, this woman hasn't read Batman. And this is how DC are hiring their writers? They're just going up to a writer and saying, we want to do this kind of book, here's your pick of the characters. It's so hard to explain to people who don't know how Western comics work how important it is to respect that which came before, because these are not your characters. You can't treat them like your characters. These characters are iconic for a reason. People love them for a reason. So, comic book writers have to perform this delicate balancing act between introducing new and exciting elements and staying true to the character. Someone who neither knows nor cares about comic books or the characters they're in will not make an effective comic book writer. So, after seeing that, I thought I have to check this out. It was just morbid curiosity. Like, if someone says, don't go over there, a car crash happened in that direction, your head immediately turns in that direction to see if you can catch a glimpse of it. So, let's take a good, long look at this car crash. Okay, and the first page, I notice this pretentious tone coming off this narration. And I do believe in the potential for wealth to be evil. I do. But it's like they're saying, oh, this is the place where the rich people go, and the rich people become the CEOs, and the CEOs become the people who control power, and power is evil, so this place is a house of evil. Way to just get the complexity of corruption down to the bone. Like, that's brilliant deconstruction there. It gets even worse. It says, more presidents, senators, tycoons and CEOs have passed through these halls than anyone can count. It prides itself on its motto, Vitae und Fortitude, life and courage, and it must be noted, cruelty. I remember writing something like this in my first year of university when I took a writing course, and the first thing my teacher told me is, you're sounding a little bit on the nose there, Ainsley. Kind of, just dial it back a bit. Please, just give me the subtlety. While there are only 25 useful Latin verbs and only 4 ways to conjugate them. Oh my God. I'm going to try skipping as much of the narration as I can because this is awful. And from this page here, you see that someone in their 40s who has absolutely no idea about what bullying looks like is, I mean, they've drawn devil horns, they've drawn a mustache, they've crossed out his eyes. I mean, what? Yeah, if you really want a decent idea of how teenagers interact, talk to each other, and bully each other, watch a show called The In-Betweeners.
Oi! Simon's got a boner!
Are you coming to sociology, Simon? Oh, I'll save you a seat. Thanks.
That show is just the pinnacle of teenage interaction, just perfect. Just kill yourself. Okay, that's a little bit more accurate. That is a cruel thing that some kids might do, so I'll give you that one. There are infinite number of ways to be cruel at Arkham through social media. OMG, that dude has got to... Does anybody actually use OMG in any way that isn't ironic anymore? Oh my god, she's written IRL with dots in between. Like, she got it right with OMG, but then she got it wrong with the IRL. Like, I don't exactly know how old this woman is, but I'm gonna guess early to mid-40s. And then the bullying goes on. Yeah, again, just this is not how teenagers talk to each other. This is not how teenagers tease or bully each other. No, nobody says things like this. And then somebody is apparently jumped 8 feet into the air and saved him. Oh, and I love this picture here. Like, he's got like a white background, and there's leaves falling around him, and he has his hand out like this, so it kind of gives the impression of, oh. And so this is supposed to be Bruce. I don't know what's up with the artwork. It looks like his features are too small for his face. And he gives them a carts for martial arts later, and oh my god.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
Okay, now we're in the principal's office, and the bullies are getting led away by their parents, and one says, "Where are his parents?" "He doesn't have parents, dummy." Yeah, you know this kid we go to school with? You know, the famous billionaire kid, famous family that we've gone to school with for years now. I'm just finding out this guy has no parents. Let me get the principal. "I asked your uncle to be here today, but no one could get a hold of him." "Uncle?" "Be that as it may, I presume you're familiar with the security cameras." This was shot on security cameras. What security cameras are eye level with teenagers? Where were these security cameras hiding? "The boys have already been spoken to about their treatment of..." No. This doesn't hurt you. This doesn't hurt you. This doesn't hurt you. This doesn't hurt you. Okay. If you don't want to hear me rant about Dick Grayson, here's the time code right now. But this is Nightwing. Dick Grayson. He is the best, and I don't have time to explain why he's the best. Just for the sake of this video, please just take it for granted that he's the best. Attractive, charming, great leader, expert acrobat, raised in the circus, a character who is just outside the A-list enough that people who don't know anything about comic books probably won't have heard about him, but if you have the slightest interest in comic books, you know who this guy is. And he has a fan base that is very, very wide-reaching. Both men and women love him, gravitate towards his character. I think a lot of male comic book readers love his character because they can kind of empathise with his struggle to get out of Batman's shadow, become his own man, establish himself, make his own choices, deal with his own struggles, you know, all those things that you get growing up as a young man. And women love him. Okay, that's not the only reason women love him. Again, those reasons men love him, I mean, that makes him a very interesting character, and women can relate to those struggles too, becoming your own person, growing up, forging your own path, all of those, there are universal things that people can relate to. And also, he's charming, kind, empathetic, sensitive, but also strong and capable, a great leader. He is far more likely to be the one jumping 8 feet into the air to save a classmate from getting bullied come hell or high water. He basically has the whole package. The whole very nicely wrapped package. This is Melissa De La Cruz's version of Dick Grayson. let me guess that the only thing she knew about this character was the fact that he was the first Robin, and nothing else about that mattered to her. Bruce is significantly older than Dick. He was his legal guardian. So I would say that he would have had to at least have been in his teenage years when Dick was born. So if you wanted Bruce to save a classmate, why did it have to be Dick Grayson? Unless he's going to appear more in the story, which I sincerely hope he doesn't, why couldn't this have just been a random classmate? Why did this have to be Dick Grayson? Did you have to just say, oh yeah, I've read the comics, I know the characters, I know the names of the characters anyway. Why? That's my only question. Why? And I will talk about the race bending a little bit more in depth in a minute, but the fact that they've made him black here is extra stupid. You know why? Because Dick Grayson is fucking Romani. You wanted diversity, it was already there. This character is almost as old as Batman. That is for good reason. And I'm trying to keep this as unscripted as possible, but to put all my thoughts and feelings into anything resembling coherent, then I would have to go and just write about his entire 80-year history and say, this is not Dick Grayson. Okay, I've got to stop now because I'm not making much sense. So let's actually get back to the real stuff. And I would have been able to treat your infraction in the same manner, except it appears this little stunt has, as the kids say, gone viral. The only recourse, I'm afraid, is instant expulsion. Really? Okay, questions. 1. How are your security cameras eye level with teenagers? Where were those security cameras hiding? 2. If this was shot on a phone, that would answer that question, and it would also answer the question of how it's gone viral, because how the hell did it go viral if these are all from your security cameras? The only people who should have access to the security cameras are security staff. So what did one of the school security put it online? And your only recourse is instant expulsion? This kid was defending his classmate. Fair enough. If you have a zero tolerance policy for violence, that's fair enough. I understand Bruce being punished for this. But instant expulsion. If this has gone viral, then obviously they would have seen that he was defending his classmate. And if he was expelled for that, you're going to get a lot of really, really bad press. So there's no process, no chance for a little sneaky bribe or donation to the school to be slipped under the table, just instant expulsion. That is how rich corruption works. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to show how schools are corrupted by wealth, that was the perfect opportunity for you to do it. Show people getting away with this kind of thing because they are wealthy and are able to buy their way out of it. But no, it's just instant expulsion for Bruce, no questions asked. Really feeling the realness here. This is real corruption here. I don't want to show too many panels here because I've never actually reviewed something that's been this new and this current before, so I'm just going to tell you that Jack Napier, who is the Joker character, has been digging around in a dumpster, finds $10 and goes to buy a book with it. Then he finds a skateboard, God, this is a magical dumpster here, and rides through the street and gets splashed by Bruce's limousine. And now we're in Wayne Manor where the story is picking up again. Before Marsha Dean became Martha Wayne, she was the most beautiful girl in Hong Kong and from the richest family. Few knew it was her money that started Wayne Enterprises. Okay, I'm just going to lay off complaining about the cringy YA narration here. Before I was this person, I was this person. Before I was the girl next door, I was the secret, illegitimate daughter of such and such. Let's just take this and let it be my comment on all the changes to the characters. Now, here's what I think. My first experience of a race-bent character was Nick Fury, because my first introduction to comic book media was the TV show X-Men Evolution, and in that cartoon, Nick Fury looked like this. And he was not a villain, he didn't outright fight the X-Men, he was more an antagonist that got in their way and occasionally helped them if their goals aligned. So when the MCU movies came out and we had Samuel L. Jackson, my first thought was, that's not Nick Fury.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
Then not long after, I thought, yeah, that's definitely Nick Fury. Because Samuel L. Jackson made that role iconic, and now I can't picture anyone else playing that part. So I am all in favour of race-bent characters for film and TV, because, unless of course the race is important to the story in some way, if you remove that characteristic, you widen the talent pool. And as a result, you get all these great performances. For books and comics, however, I just ask, why? What exactly did you achieve by doing this? Nothing changed. And I'm just going to call this right now. I bet absolutely nothing about Bruce's character is changed in the story by his mother having been Asian. It's a writing decision that makes no difference to the story, the characters, the setting, just the plot, just nothing. It is a nothing change. And if a writer did that for anything else, readers and critics would shake their heads and say, why did you do that? It's like Chekhov's gun. You don't put a loaded gun on stage unless it's going to go off. And I happen to think that that's a rule you should carry through to the rest of your writing. Don't make a change or add an element unless it's going to affect something. So that is what I think about all the changes made to these characters that affect nothing. Because I don't want to get into every single character and why changing them in the way she did was pointless and stupid. According to sources, everything fell apart the night they went to see Madame Butterfly. What started as a perfect evening soon became a night of terror. Seriously, what kid is this happy to see an opera? What? I mean, Bruce is like 8 when his parents die. Why is he this happy to go see Madame Butterfly? When they got home, there were thieves everywhere. When they got home, oh my God. They've tied the mother up and put her in the bathtub. And Bruce is hiding. Oh my God, oh my God. No. All right. I am going to tell you why this is awful. Martha was abducted and tied in a bathtub while Bruce hid and listened. This happened over a period of what looks like hours. Martha and Thomas's deaths were supposed to be an it happened so fast kind of moment. The sheer cruel irony that something that took seconds changed a person for the rest of his life. As if what happened to Bruce wasn't tragic enough, you had to add that they were terrorised by sadistic men instead of just a poor, down-and-out nobody. That was the entire point. Joe Chill wasn't a sadistic mobster or an insane Joker-like villain. He was the face in the crowded streets of Gotham's poorest areas. That just adds to the senselessness of it all. And now they are sadistic, murderous men who didn't even need to kill the people they were robbing because they were wearing goddamn masks. Why did you add this? There is a reason that we keep seeing the same scene over and over and over again, with the only changes, bar this stupid one, being stylistic. That image of a boy in a lonely, dark, dank alleyway, the streets he would later patrol as Batman, kneeling over the bodies of his parents that were taken away from him in an instant that was too fast to process and that he will never process as long as he lives, is arguably the most iconic origin of all time. This writer took away everything that was so tragically real about this incident and replaced it with a scene added for cheap shock value. I don't have anything else to say to that. Right, let's continue. Uncle Alfred took custody of Bruce. So Alfred is Bruce's uncle here. Uncle Alfred took custody of Bruce when his parents died. He came to Gotham from Hong Kong but was too broken-hearted by his sister's death and sent Bruce away. Alfred wasn't there for Bruce. Alfred sent Bruce away.
I am so very sorry. I can never replace them. But I promise you, I will never, ever leave your side.
Alfred! Congratulations, you managed to completely fuck up a character before they even appear on panel. That is legitimately quite impressive. Okay, now Alfred is back and he wants them to be a family again. And just look at this panel here. Like, this is beyond just not knowing how teenagers talk. This is a complete misunderstanding of how people talk. So, this panel is indicative of all the problems with this writing. Alfred and Bruce are talking about how he's going to be a billionaire, he's going to come into his money as soon as he turns 18. He's 17 right now. So Alfred says, I suppose you could say that. You are a billionaire. You're welcome, by the way. And Bruce says, I'd give all the money in the world to have them back. Let's pick apart this panel. So, the uncle who abandoned him and has now turned up and wants to be in his life, reconnect with him, says, you're going to be a billionaire. You're welcome, by the way. What does he have to say thank you for? I mean, Alfred didn't make him a billionaire. Is he asking him to say thank you for being the custodian? I mean, imagine that. Imagine your uncle. Your parents put your uncle in charge of your money, managing your money until you are old enough to take care of it yourself. And when you're getting close to being old enough, your uncle says, you're going to get this money. You're welcome, by the way. You're welcome, I actually did my job as your custodian. You're welcome. Or is he saying you're welcome because it's their family's money? Yeah. So you say to your heir, like, you're welcome, our family is rich. Fuck you, Alfred. I mean, she managed to fuck him up before he even appeared on panel, but she is just decimating this character. By the simplest of words, she is paring everything away from what this character is supposed to be. And Bruce answers, I'd give all the money in the world to have them back. So, you're talking about his inheritance, and he comes back with, I'd give all the money in the world to have them back, and just completely changes subject. This may seem like a natural progression for a conversation in theory, but imagine you are having this conversation with your uncle in this situation. Your parents have been dead for years, at this point almost a decade. Your estranged uncle who basically abandoned you, you are talking about your inheritance with him, the last thing you're going to want to say is, I would give all the money in the world to have my parents back. I think the last thing you would want to talk about with the uncle who abandoned you is the parents that he abandoned you because he was too brokenhearted to actually be a goddamned adult and take care of his nephew. If I were Bruce, I wouldn't want to talk about my parents at all with this guy. And plus, I know Bruce never gets over his parents' death. Like, as long as he lives, it's always right there. But he never talks about it. Like, this isn't something he talks about or works through or expresses to anyone. So he is just not going to have a conversation with his uncle about his inheritance and then say, oh, I miss mum and dad. That is not what Bruce would do. He keeps everything in. That's his problem. You're trying to make him brooding without understanding why a character would be brooding to begin with, because he's keeping everything inside. So him just coming out with this, I'd give all the money in the world to have my parents back crap is true. I'm pretty sure he and anyone else would, but that is not something he would say. So this is a complete misunderstanding of how teenagers talk, how the characters talk, and how people talk in general. She may be a better novelist, because it does seem as though a novelist wrote this. Okay, and then we go outside. How do I know this? I'm the girl next door, Selena Garcia Kyle. Yeah, because the poor live next door to the rich. That's how that works. Yeah. This house, this fairly decent sized but modestly large house, is right next to Wayne Manor, which is covered in acres of land. Yeah. You're really stretching here to get a girl with financial troubles being the girl next door to the millionaire. Because you too can one day be the girl next door to one of the richest, if not the richest guy on the planet. Because that is how wealth is divided geographically. So all you have to do to traverse the barrier of wealth is hop that fence. Again, feeling the realness here. Right, and Selena's father is in bed, tended by a nurse, because he was in an accident and he can't remember her anymore. And her and the nurse had this conversation. Selena, your father needs to be in a facility. His Alzheimer's is only getting worse. The other day he walked out of the house without his pants. And I've only been paid till the end of the year. Why don't you sell the house, use the money to take care of your dad? I wish I could, but it's in a trust fund for my mum's family. I'm not allowed to sell it until I come of age. Yet this woman has been working for your father in this, because this kind of nursing is an intimate job. And she has been working in this kind of intimate capacity for how long? All this is just said in one conversation. I sincerely hope Melissa De La Cruz is a better novelist, because this does seem like how a novelist would write a comic book, because all this information would have been in the narrative, not in a conversation between two characters. So, if it wasn't already blatantly obvious by Selena's insufferable narration that this is a novelist writing this, then this conversation should seal it for you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to a classic American high school. Now, I have absolutely no idea what a classic American high school is like, but I bet they're going to do the whole cliquey thing, like the jocks never sit with the nerds, and the popular girls never talk to the girls in band, and the art students don't talk to the mathletes. That kind of thing. Like, I believe that this may once have been the case with American high schools, but where people get into these cliques because so many shows satirize it and make it seem that way, but I don't think it's true anymore. So if you went to a classic American high school, please let me know. And oh my god, like, this I literally predicted word for word what this writer was going to say is the jocks never sit with the nerds, the joiners hate the slackers. Oh my god. This is so cliche. I managed to predict it almost word for word. Once again, please tell me if this is really how schools function in America. And I will take back every snide comment I made. And if you want to see what life in a British high school is like, once again, check out The In-Betweeners.
Yeah, but he's just spent the last 10 weeks wanking 3 times a day. That's why he's knackered.
Yeah, that's it. I've had 210 wanks and my cock's like a pepperami.
Whose cock's like what?
Honestly, it's absolutely hilarious. Right, now Bruce's first day at school. And he's chatting up Selena. And I like a guy who speaks in double negatives. Do you know how teenagers flirt? Really? Do you have any comprehension of how teenagers talk to each other or flirt or interact in any sense? Wouldn't you like to know? I would not want to know. It meets this afternoon. I won't not see you there. Yeah. Okay, and apparently, like, they were childhood friends and Bruce doesn't recognize her. So she's like, don't you remember me? Despite them having been neighbours, which is so stupid. Again, she's trying to talk about the divide between rich and poor and the class and the corruption, but she puts a financially struggling girl right next to a guy who has all the money in the world. That just doesn't happen. You don't build moderately sized houses next to mansions unless they are the houses where staff lives. Okay, more painful flirting. And finally, Bruce is meeting Jack. And why in like cheesy American high school dramas do they have kids doing things like playing poker? Well, for one, it's illegal, but, you know, kids drink and everything, so that's not... But are kids interested in poker? Like, I mean, drinking I can understand. Like, kids, you can have fun drinking. But gambling is something that very much appeals to adults. A lot of kids have some money from their parents. If they need something, they go ask their parents for it. But that excitement of getting money doesn't really come to you until you're an adult standing on your own 2 feet, and just getting that little bit more money would make your life a little bit better. So gambling doesn't really appeal to kids in the way it does to adults. So what are they doing in a poker table? And of course, Selena's the best poker player. And Jack and Bruce says, something tells me we're gonna be friends. Okay, and the next scene, we're back in school, and Bruce has, like, ordered in his lunch. Like, he hasn't brought it. He hasn't got something from the cafeteria. He has specially ordered it. And, okay, again, you clearly don't understand bullying, because that is something that is going to get him slagged to high heaven. At least in my school, I mean, you get your lunch specially delivered? Like, ooh, like there's this thing that we used to do when I was a teenager. I don't know if kids in Scotland do it anymore, but whenever something was even vaguely posh or something, we would go, ooh!
Sugar, Hermesitis.
Shall I fetch thine Hermesitis? You come to greet us with mine Hermesitis.
And this is exactly the kind of thing that would get him slagged, but they're like, what's that? And they're like, do you want to try it? Like, I could order more, and he just gives them his salad. Again, teenagers. I know 40-year-old mothers don't have the opportunity to hang around with teenagers that aren't their kids, but come on! Come on! And Bruce is standing there like, with his arms crossed all smug like, yeah, you eat that salad. Why is he so happy they're eating his salad? I mean... Okay. Then we go to this next scene where this guy, asking to try on Bruce's coat. And Bruce just says, okay. Just say, okay, stranger, try him on my coat. And his name's Harvey. It's meant to be Harvey Dent. And he just walks away with the coat. And then, look at me, I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm the richest kid in Gotham. And like, again, teenagers! Learn how they talk. Learn how they bully each other. Learn how they tease each other. Look at me, I'm Bruce Wayne. That's something an 8-year-old would do. It was like, hey Harvey, can I have my coat back? I have to go. Oh, and Jack is worried about Selina dropping him off in a dangerous part of town. And she's like, oh, I don't have time for this, Jack. Get on. Like, how dare you worry about me? Okay, and then he comes home. His mom's passed out. Dad's popping pills. And yep, I can totally believe this is a situation a guy like the Joker would have grown up in. And oh, creepy, ew. And I bet like this is gonna be framed as like somehow romantic, just like an expression of how much he cares for her. Right, next scene, we're in Chinatown, and Bruce is wandering around. And he says, I've got an assignment for Chinese school. Have to figure out what this compound is and buy the herb. It's such a pain. Look, what's he doing here? Like, did I miss something? Did I miss something because I was so frustrated with all the little things that were bugging me? Like, is he trying to buy a herb or trying to do an assignment for his Chinese homework? Or why? Oh, is this going to be Poison Ivy? Is she half Asian too? Like, half Asian, half Irish? Because she's a redhead. So before I go any further, I just want to talk a little bit more about the characters and how they are so far removed from their comic book counterparts that they may as well be original characters. And I think that's what they are. She has just written her own characters and slapped the names of famous Batman characters onto them. So let's take the 3 main ones, just as an example. Bruce. What does this version of Bruce have in common with his comic book counterpart? Rich, broody, dead parents. Those are probably the only 3 things that a non-comic book fan would know about Bruce Wayne, outside of being Batman, of course. And let's look at the Joker. Funny, I guess? And Selina. Sexy? So, if you actually try and think about the comic book characters as anything more than their superficial characteristics, what exactly do these characters have in common with them? Pretty much nothing. So that just leads to my frustration with the fact that we are reading an original novel with the names of our favourite characters just slapped on the front in an effort to sell it. And since I know that this writer hasn't read a Batman comic in her life and has no interest or care for the characters, this doesn't surprise me at all. This is the kind of thing that is acceptable in fan fiction, because if you don't like it, you can just stop reading and nothing else has changed. It's very, very different when something is on sale for public consumption. That is legitimately annoying and quite insulting. I go back to what I said about real comic book writers and artists and how they have a fine line to dance between introducing new and exciting elements and staying true to the characters. That is a difficult thing to do. This writer hasn't even tried, hasn't even made a single attempt to take these characters and show them for who they truly are. She chose Batman because Batman is super popular, and if she chose Batman, then more people would say, oh, this is a Batman comic, let's check it out. But didn't bother to actually write Batman, just put Batman's name on her own character. Okay, so now Bruce is in the principal's office, and I'm not going to even bother telling you who this is. She's saying, how are you? Saying, I'm alright. And I forgot to mention Harvey. So Harvey has been kidnapped, and Bruce was apparently the only one in the school when it happened. There's no security footage, so she's called him in just to talk about it, and she eats the sandwich and she gives him her half-eaten sandwich. Ew! Okay, so this is the detective side. There's a kidnapped boy. So let's see if Bruce actually does any detective work here.